Recorded? Oh, yeah.
Yes, this is officially recording now. We currently have Kathy. Promote to panelist. Could you ask Juvencio, aquí está. Promote to panelist.
And Ricky's in the waiting room too.
Okay. Could you ask Ricky what his name is on his profile? Is it ARP or Aid Orepasa? Aquí está, ya lo encontré.
Oh.
Okay. All right, thank you everybody who is joining us. We are going to give a few more minutes for more attendees to hop on. And then we're going to just about a minute or more to give them a chance to hop on. And then after that, I'll go ahead and just kind of talk to you about the technical aspect on how to ask questions on Zoom, which we will take at the end of the press conference. Thank you. Okay, we are just waiting on one more panelist and we should be ready to begin. So as I mentioned before, well, first of all, my name is Stefania Arteaga. I am the immigrant rights organizer for the ACLU of North Carolina. I am going to be doing our tech for today's press conference. If you are interested in asking questions towards the end of this press conference, we please ask you to click the raise hand emoji that is at the bottom of your screen that will prompt you to answer a question, and then I will allow you access into the main stage to ask your question. If you would like to just simply type out your question, that is also okay, and you can put it in the Q&A portion. If you have any technical questions as we are going through this process, please let me know and I'm happy to assist. So right now, what we're going to do is I'm going to pass it over to Maria Mayorga from the Hispanic Federation, who will be moderating today's press conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefania. Good afternoon, all. Thank you so much for joining us in today's press conference to talk about HB 311. Right now, I'm going to hand it over to my dear friend Iliana Santillan with El Pueblo, who's going to give the welcoming remarks. Thank you, Iliana.
Hi, everyone. My name is Iliana Santillan. I'm the Executive Director of El Pueblo, and it is a true honor and a privilege to be here with you all, with you, Ricky. I know that our community members have been waiting and fighting for, driver's licenses for quite some time. So it is really a remarkable act, to have a bill such as HB 311. We've seen versions of these bills in the past, and we're just really excited about pushing forward this bill, supporting you in this initiative, and just really eager to hear from our community members, to hear from Faith Action, True Rich, Amexcan, the Fayetteville PACT and the ACLU on how we can move this piece of legislation forward and the impacts that it's going to have in our community. So again, truly an honor and a privilege to be here with you all. And I will hand it over to Maria, who's going to facilitate this conversation.
Yes, thank you so much, Iliana, for those words. And thank you everyone who has tuned in to ask questions, hear more from our community leaders today, and of course, Representative Hurtado, right, who is leading this effort. So like Stefania said, if you have any questions, please, wait till the end. If there are anything that it's tech related, please reach out to Stefania with the ACLU. Again, appreciation to everyone. At this moment, I'm going to turn it over to Representative Hurtado, who is going to speak about, HB 311, how it came to be, and the efforts around it. So thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Good afternoon, everybody. Buenas tardes a todos. My name is Representative Ricky Hurtado, and I'm proud to be here with the community to really introduce this bill. This is not my bill. This is our bill. This is a bill that is very much needed in the community. Something, as Iliana alluded to, is something that the immigrant community and really anyone who cares about public safety has been advocating for years. And so HB 311 is really a bill that strikes at the heart of our vision for what an inclusive, safe community in North Carolina can look like. And I think it's important to note that this bill is being introduced at the same time that our Republican colleagues are introducing anti-immigrant legislation to really move us backwards, not forwards. When you think about legislation like HB 62 and or SB 101, that is really playing politics with people's lives in the midst of a pandemic. When you consider everything we've been through over the last year and a half, when you think about frontline essential workers putting their lives at risk as we continue to navigate COVID-19, when you think about everything we've been through as our families think about how they take their kids to school, how they get them to doctor's appointments, and how we continue to serve North Carolina selflessly, it is really remarkable. And for me, that is a part of the conversation as well. If it was not clear to you before, it certainly is now, is that immigrants are a huge part of the community and an essential part of North Carolina. Gaining the ability to drive safely, to drive peacefully as you run your errands, as you go to the store, as you go to school, as you sort of go on with your day, making sure you're taking care of your kids is the least we could be doing to make sure that we are moving forward in a way that really takes care of everyone. And so that's what this bill gets to, where providing driving privileges to immigrants with limited or no legal status that really allows everyone to have more faith that our communities and roads are safer because of it. We've seen in the past a number of police chiefs and law enforcement agencies recognize the need for this bill. I hear it here at home in Alamance County all the time from our police chief that having something like a faith ID actually is really helpful, right? We know who's driving that car. We know who this person is. And this is one step forward in that direction as well. And so very grateful for all the community partners who have worked so hard on this. We know this legislation has a steep hill to climb when it comes to Republican support, but I think that's ever the more reason to introduce something like this now to make sure that every legislator across North Carolina understands that this is important, not just for the immigrant and Latino community, but for everyone in North Carolina. So I'm looking forward to advocate alongside you to make sure we continue to have our voices heard. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Hurtado, for those kind words. And I think all of us here echo those sentiments. And to that, I'm going to hand it over to my dear friend, David Fraccaro, right, who has been spearheading these conversations and efforts along with Representative Hurtado and all the members here today. So David, if you want to tell us a little bit about the facts and, all the conversations that have happened for months now, and I want to say years as well. So David.
Thanks, Maria, and thank you, Representative Hurtado, for your words and for championing this bill. My name is Reverend David Fraccaro. I'm the Executive Director of Faith Action International House. And a little context for how this bill came to be. First, it's important to note that there have been many deeply caring and determined groups who have been advocating for a bill like this for many, many years in North Carolina, at least since 2015. And we are deeply grateful for those efforts and see this bill as very much connected to those past efforts. And it's been great to see many individuals, groups, and congregations from across the state, from the mountains to the Piedmont to the shores, come together to create and push this newest legislative effort, HB 311. And this includes many groups that are part of the Faith Action ID Network, which has been providing community IDs over the past 8 years in North Carolina. And along the way, we've received the support of dozens of law enforcement agencies, health centers, schools, businesses, but there are limitations with a community ID. We recognize that a state-issued driver's license is what is needed most for our immigrant neighbors to live a life with dignity, without fear when taking their child to school or going to church in a car. And what is needed, what is most needed for the safety of our state to ensure everyone who is driving has been tested and trained, is covered with insurance, and that those who may be victims of a violent crime can feel safe when calling local law enforcement or other community agencies for help. This is why this bill is called the Safer Roads and Communities Act. We spent a lot of time this winter speaking with our neighbors throughout this state, as well as in Virginia, about how they managed to pass a driver's license legislation there last year. And they noted that they too had been trying for 8 years until it finally happened and the conditions were right, and encourage us to keep moving forward no matter what. And that's what we intended to do. They mentioned the importance of having champions for the bill, both inside and outside the legislature. And as you'll hear today, we're lucky to have an abundance of remarkable champions who won't stop until driver's licenses are a reality for all North Carolinians, including everyone you'll hear from today, as well as our primary sponsor, Representative Hurtado, and many wonderful past sponsors, such as the 2019 bill sponsor, Pricey Harrison, and many, many others. It's important to note that this particular bill was first introduced in 2019, and after some very helpful conversations with agencies, community members, congregations, and state representatives, we recommended some smart and effective changes that came from all of us to the 2021 Safer Roads and Communities Act, including ensuring all those who are eligible for the license must have lived in North Carolina for at least 1 year, and have had to pay state taxes in the last year. Ensuring the documentation requirements to receive the license are thorough but fair, and that the orientations and tests from the DMV and the absolute requirement of insurance are the same as any other North Carolinian wanting a driver's license. The bill also includes a unique hour-long virtual orientation led by NC's immigrant and refugee service providers that would be a requirement for all those hoping to receive this restricted license. And that would include a basic orientation of the cultures, social systems, and laws in North Carolina, and provide some helpful video introductions to leaders in the law enforcement, school, health, and social services sector. In short, this bill not only ensures the inherent dignity and human rights of our newest neighbors, especially during a pandemic, but it truly measurably helps to create safer roads and communities for all North Carolinians. Now, there are more than enough Democrats supporting this bill. We simply need some of North Carolina's Republicans to come on board to make North Carolina what I believe is the 12th or 13th state in the nation to have a life-changing, life-saving bill like this. So thank you for your time, for listening. And I do believe we can make this happen. If we want a truly united, safer state, then we can make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you for those kind words and enlightening us, right, as to what this bill will mean for the thousands of North Carolinians who will benefit from this bill, who will be of all backgrounds. So thank you. And to that extent, I'm going to invite our dear friend, Don Juvencio Rocha Peralta, who can speak to the history behind us trying to get somewhere with driver's licenses for, like I said, for the millions who will benefit across the state. So Juvencio.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for this this opportunity to be here with you today. It's a pleasure, and I'm so happy to see HB 311. Thank you, Representative Hurtado, for introducing this bill. It's so important for us to recognize that these actions is past due for our immigrant community in the state of North Carolina. And it's past due because our immigrant community has a greater contributions to our state, to our economy, to our social fabric, but also to the entire process that these states needs us. So this bill not just only allows our community to be more safer, this bill allows for economic prosperity. And this is one of the things our community, our immigrant community brings to our state. When we look in talking about safety, but also beyond safety, the greatest contribution this bill can benefit as we had mentioned here, many immigrants across the state and across our counties and across the cities. One of the important things we have to recognize that this community has a long history of being marginalized, and we marginalized with policies that be anti-immigrant policies. This bill allows our communities to drop on the roads to have a place, to have a house, have an identification on the hands when somebody or somebody's asking who they are. At least they can say, this is my North Carolina ID. This is my North Carolina driver license. So this past due for our immigrants communities to have this document on their hands. And we hope that Democrats, Republicans come together and understand the prosperity of this community brings to our state. And there is past due. Today more than ever, living in pandemics, our communities suffer more than ever. And we marginalize community even more than ever that we ever see in the history of our country and our state. So we encourage across all different sectors, across all different political sides to come together and making this a history, but not just only a history, making this a commitment to our immigrant community and the state of North Carolina. Thank you for allowing me to be here today.
Thank you so much, Juvencio, with Amexcan, right? A pivotal organization in Eastern North Carolina, who is always at the vanguard of our community. And like Juvencio said, you know, it will be a tremendous help to the economical sector as well in the eastern part of the state and the state overall. So now I am going to introduce Ms. Lori Garcia McCammon, sorry if I butchered your name, who is in the western part of North Carolina, working tremendously with other groups in that side of the state to bring change, to advocate for our communities in that part of the state. So Lori?
Good afternoon. My name is Lori Garcia McCammon. Like she said, like Maria said, I have been here. Actually, this organization has only been around for 4 short years, but we've been trying to do a lot of really great work. And I feel very honored to be part of this group. I've been working with David Fraccaro and the ID network for years, trying to get a faith ID in our community, but because due to 287G, it has not become a reality at this time. So thank you, Ricky, for introducing this bill. I am very, very proud of it. And I was so excited. I was talking to everybody here at the office about this, simply because we do work with victims of crimes and domestic violence, and we want to make these families feel safer. A lot of the comments that Juvencio and David has touched upon is people not feeling safe to drive to a grocery store, to courts, to report, to school. And I think it's so important, especially giving a case for domestic violence, somebody who's driving in the middle of a night and they don't have a license and get stopped at a checkpoint, and having the fear of, do I stop? Where do I go? Do I go faster? Do I go to shelter? And we had one of those cases happen. And I think that this is so important for our victims of crimes to be able to feel safe with our police officers and be able, if they have a license, they're going to feel a whole lot more comfortable. I'm not going to say 100%, but they will. And another case that I have seen is our police, and they don't know how to manage our passports and documentation from other countries. So looking at a passport, they say this is fake, you know, this might not be real. So I think that that's giving also an opportunity, if they have a license, that it's something that they do recognize. So I think that is very important. Eliminate the need for officers to handle that. I believe that we've been frontline essential workers during this time, during the pandemic. And we have seen that without our immigrant community, we could not do the work that has been done. Specifically, finding people to get their vaccines at this time. It is our smaller organizations that are moving because we know our community. So having this license will definitely be something that we will all be pushing for. And I am grateful to be part of one of the movers and shakers to make this happen. So thank you so much for that opportunity.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you for everything that you and our partners in Western North Carolina are doing to make sure that, like you say, right, these communities and these individuals who are impacted by so many, social injustices, are represented, and you bring them to the table so they can have a voice. So we appreciate you. And in that same sense, another group who is also fighting alongside with us, and it's here to uplift the voices of all of our community and help us expand our platform and our message, is Miss Kathy Greggs with Fayetteville PACT, right? An amazing partner who have been fighting this fight with us since day one, and whom I know will be key as we move this bill and many other pro-immigrant rights bills forward. So Kathy.
Thank you. I am the co-founder and president of Fayetteville Police Accountability Community Task Force here in Fayetteville. I want to first say I want to thank you all for allowing us to be on this platform, ACLU Representative Hurtado. However, I just want to make sure, since everyone already emphasized what's really going on with this HB 311, and though they passed the SB 101, right? Which absolutely makes no sense. We must understand something in North Carolina. We can't allow ourselves to continue to be pushed back in the Jim Crow's era. We must make our representatives understand that immigrants built this country. And without immigration here in this country, we would not go anywhere with agricultural. We would not go anywhere with revenue. They bring in majority of the revenue. They pay their taxes. So why are we here after all these years asking for a driver's license? Why are we here asking for ID? But we can go, we have to get a passport to go to another country. But this country is supposed to be land of the free and home of the brave. Okay, so who are we freeing? That is the question. Who are we freeing? Okay, and we must understand something, that though we have a license, we still have racial profiling from our police department. We still have, even if they don't have an agreement with ICE, there is immigrants that walk up and down the street to and from jobs that they work hard for to bring home to their family money and food, but yet and still, they still get stopped by the police officers, only because of how they look. We must make sure we address that systematic enslavement and racism exists in North Carolina. And our representatives need to hear that we are tired of it. We are tired of it, because guess what? Atlanta shooting showed it don't matter who you are, that terrorism can come from any way. And we must understand that no one should be racially profiled because of who they are when they built this country. Forced citizenship for my ancestors, forced citizenship for Native Americans, for a country they built and they continue to build. And representatives should not go into the communities of immigrants and ask them for voting if they are not going to uplift this driver's license HB 311. And that is the facts. Do not come into the community asking me to uplift you as a representative if you are not going to pass a bill that's going to help my family and help me continue my generational wealth. Because guess what? I'm giving you money off of the back that I work hard for. North Carolina revenue, 35% comes from immigrants. You can look it up, 35%. And guess what? Majority of them undocumented. Who pays the grocery store owner? Who pays that business owner? This is not, we shouldn't even be asking for this. This is something that we demand, and it should have been given long time ago. Now stop putting us back in the damn Jim Crow eras and do your job. But I do appreciate all your efforts, Representative Horatio. As an Army combat veteran, okay, I always say this because I went to so many countries. Even the founder of Fayetteville PACT is an Army combat veteran, Green Beret, and we fight for other countries. Why should I have to come back here and beg you for something that should already happen? Because we are the reason why we should be free. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Thank you for that energy and for your support. Like I said in her introduction, you all have been fighting alongside with us, and we are here to do the same, right? If anything can be taken from this press conference is that we are united and we will move forward as a united front. So thank you so much for that support. And I would love it for us to continue that, but I'm gonna leave it now to Stefania at the ACLU to give us on the advocacy points. How can partners and allies help us move this fight forward and get it past the finish line?
Thank you, everybody. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Stefania Arteaga. I give you my wrong title. I am the Regional Immigrant Rights Strategist for the ACLU of North Carolina. And wow, it's great to go next after Kathy. I think it's important to note that the legislature is one tool. It is one tool to make change happen, make change possible. But no change is attainable if we don't organize. Organizing, having organized communities, educating community, creating class conscious of what is going on in our community, in our world, in our state is imperative. As we're seeing here today, Representative Hurtado listened to community, understood what community needs were, and put a piece of legislation forward, HB 311, to make sure that undocumented communities, odd status communities have safety when they take their children to school, when they seek support, when they do groceries. And so what we want to make sure the people of North Carolina understand and hear is that we need you all to advocate, to stand alongside us, to rally up support in favor of HB 311. HB 311 will be able to create so much support for immigrant communities, not just from the standpoint of the safety net of a driver's license, but mental health. Knowing that you can go from one location to the other, not having your children have to worry about what may happen once you exit that door. And so we want to make sure that people know that ways that you can help can be done by contacting your local representative in the House, calling your local representative in the House, and motivating other partners, friends, community members, church groups to do so as well. If you're feeling up to it, you can request a meeting with your representative. One of the great things about COVID is it's given us Zoom, phone calls, somewhat a bit more accessible. And so we really want to encourage you all to do that. And lastly, as David mentioned, obtaining driver's licenses has been a long fight in this state and will continue most likely to be so. So we can't just bow our heads and pretend like nothing's happening. We have to move forward. We have to move forward together. And we have to do so in the way that we remind elected officials that they are accountable to their constituency, to all of their constituents, documented or not. And so with that, just really want to again reiterate the importance of contacting your representative, the importance of pushing this through social media to help us make North Carolina a state that is welcoming to all of our immigrant neighbors. So thank you.
Thank you, Stefania. And yeah, just to echo her words, right? We are here to ask for help to help us push this forward, to make North Carolina a more welcoming state. So now we're gonna open it up to questions. Stefania said you all can raise your hand, or there is the Q&A chat box. So please feel free to start dropping those.
Okay, so I think I'm the only one that can see the hands. Oh, and please bear with me. I'm new at this.
So Stefania's gonna go.
I have a question. You have been moved forward to ask your question, Berenice.
Hi, good morning. This is Bernice with Generation 40. You cannot see me, but I can see you. Yeah, so, well, I understand that there is a long process for HB 311 to be approved, but I would like to explain our viewers about how many committees this bill must pass. And you already talked about a little bit about the strategy, but I would like to hear in Spanish, if it is possible, what people must do to help to this bill advance.
Thank you for your question, Berenice. And now I'm gonna turn it over to Representative Hurtado.
Yeah, of course. We're all among friends here, right? Ricky is fine. But Sí, Berenice, buena pregunta. El proceso para cualquier proyecto en la Asamblea General es que, bueno, los números de comités que tiene que pasar es la decisión del partido en poder. Entonces, los republicanos pueden decidir que sea un comité, 2 comités, 5 comités, todo depende en cómo quieren manejar ese proceso. Ahorita ha llegado al comité de reglas y ahí normalmente están poniendo los proyectos demócratas que no quieren trabajar en ellos, pero también pueden sacar ese proyecto cuando quieran. Lo pueden sacar y lo pueden meter en otro comité. Entonces el proceso importa menos. Lo que es importante es ganar el apoyo de los republicanos en la Cámara y en el Senado. Muchos me han dicho que privadamente que sí apoyan un proyecto así, pero el liderazgo del Partido Republicano nunca dejará que votaran sobre esto. Entonces es importante que miembros o los representantes en su distrito que sepan que esto es algo importante para nuestra comunidad. Entonces, como dijo Stefania, llamen sus representantes, manden en correos electrónicos para que sepan que esto es algo que es muy importante, no solo para la comunidad inmigrante, pero para todos nosotros en Carolina del Norte.
Muy bien, gracias. Ricky, y bueno, Estefanía, no sé si pudieras contestar acerca de lo que mencionaste hace un momento. Me gustaría que lo escucharan en español y lo más conciso que pudieras sobre qué debe hacer la gente, exactamente qué necesita hacer la gente, porque tal vez la gente lo vea a la distancia, pero ellos podrían ser clave en que esta propuesta avanzara.
Gracias, Berenice. Antes que responda tu pregunta, representante, ¿podría comunicar eso en inglés? Porque también tenemos medios en inglés que nos están escuchando. Gracias.
Sí. I mean, yes. I'm going to repeat what the question that I just answered in English for any English media. Berenice's question was around whether, I guess, how many committees does this bill need to pass through before it passes the House on the floor, or at least voted on the floor? My response was that it's really up to the party in power, which is currently the Republican Party. It could be as few as 2 committees or as many as 4 or 5, right? Depending on how they want to drive the process. And so the process and the number of committees matters less than the actual support within the Republican caucus. So it's very important for advocates in the community to contact their representatives, to let them know that this is important, not just for the immigrant community, but for everyone in North Carolina. As David mentioned, right, there's a reason why this is called the Safer Roads and Communities Act, because this is something that matters to everyone, and we're all better off if we have the proper identification and driving privileges to keep everyone safe. And so privately, I've spoken to a number of Republicans who pragmatically think this is a good idea, but Republican leadership won't let them vote on something like this. And so it's a matter of continuing to bring up this topic and make sure that folks know that this is something that's a priority for this community.
Thank you, Representative. Berenice, solo recalcando lo que mencioné antes, es que hay una gran importancia en entender que no solo podemos depender en los legisladores que introduzcan propuestas, necesitamos empujar y motivar a otros representantes que los apoyen igualmente. Así que nosotros lo que queremos recalcar y asegurar que la comunidad sepa es que sin importar el estatus inmigratorio de una persona, uno puede abogar y llamar a su representante estatal y demandar que apoyen una propuesta similar. No nos podemos confiar que simplemente porque esté introducida o propuesta una propuesta de ley que va a poder mover. Se necesita mostrar apoyo comunitario y se necesita mostrar apoyo no solo de la comunidad latina, pero miembros de nuestra comunidad en general. Miembros de las iglesias, miembros de clubes de fútbol, quien sepan, que conozcan, ¿verdad? Que llamen a sus representantes. No importa el estatus inmigratorio de uno tiene un representante y debe de contactarlo. Gracias. I just want to make sure if there are any other questions that anybody else may have.
Yes. So we have a question. Berenice, did I answer all of your questions before we move on to the other 2?
Yes. Just there.
Okay. So I do not want to butcher anyone's name, so my apologies. We have a reporter with NC Policy Watch, Yankee Zhu. It's for Ricky. Representative Hurtado, how would this bill interact with the Federal Real ID Act?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you can see in the bill language that it does require the driver's license, Class C driver's license, to be designed in a slightly different way. And we leave the design sort of open-ended, and that's not because of our decision, right? I think there's legal requirements that interact with the Real ID Act in terms of what can be designed as the current traditional licenses that most of us have versus a driver's privilege card such as this one. And so that is, I guess, one of the ways that it will interact with the Real ID Act.
Thank you. And please feel free to use the question and answer or raise your hand. The next question is, what is the reason that some go against this bill?
I'm assuming that may be directed to me, but I'm also happy to open it up to community members because they've also had really great conversations with representatives over the years. Some view the issue pragmatically, like I mentioned. They think this is good for anyone, right? If you're in an accident on the road, if you're pulled over by police, it's important to know who is driving that vehicle and that they have the insurance necessary to be driving that vehicle, and that we understand who's on our road, right? That is one way to keep our roads and communities safer. For me, it's a political issue. It's not an issue of whether this is a real solution or not. Everyone knows this is a solution. It's something that, as was once told to me, right? It's a political issue that, you know, the caucus has drawn a line on, and we see that as, even in the midst of a continued pandemic, we continue to see bad anti-immigrant bills passed, such as HB 62 and SB 101. HB 62 is terrible, terrible policy, regardless of what your stance is on immigration, when you open the floodgates to harassment and discrimination when it comes to anyone in your community being able to sue if you think that your municipality is enforcing so-called sanctuary policies, which don't even have a formal definition. And so we know that this is a political football, and it is straight out of the Trump playbook, where we continue to demonize parts of our community for political gain.
Yes, thank you. David, would you like anything to add to that part?
No, I mean, I think no party's a monolith, right? So even within the Democrat Party, Republican Party, Independents, you have folks that feel and think differently and behave differently. And I think even within the Republican Party, whose support we have to have in order for this to pass, at least under the current makeup of the legislature, you have some folks that I think are caught up in a lot of myths and potentially concerning racism that keeps them from understanding this issue through a humanizing, compassionate lens, and are unwilling to even look at it in terms of the positive kind of solutions-based benefits economically in terms of safer roads, et cetera. I think you have some other folks. I think Representative Hurtado, Rick, you hit it right on the head. There are some pragmatic folks who I think would be willing to work with this bill, and if allowed to vote for it, live in districts where they feel like, you know, this might even be potentially a good move for them. But they're maybe not allowed to vote on this because certain leadership within the Republican Party won't allow it to come up for a vote. And that's really unfortunate. I think you need those Republicans to talk to their leadership to say, look, you can't block us from needing to move this forward. And they need to have the character and the will to do that and to speak up to that leadership. I would also say that some folks may be a lot more compassionate on this issue, but I think by voting for it internally, and I think we don't hear about this a lot, but internally, they are scared of what a vote for this bill might mean for them and their families, what it might mean for their career. And this is where you get into an individual's character. Are they willing to vote for something, even if it means not getting put back into office? And are they willing to do that out of their heart for the good of the people of the state? Or are they just not willing to do that because it means potentially risking their donors, risking their seat, risking the well-being of their family and social circles that would never expect them to vote for something like this? So in a lot of ways, I do think it's an issue of character. But I do think there's some Republicans that have been willing in the past to support this if the leadership allows it to come up for a vote. So it doesn't matter how many Republicans might have the character to vote for this. If the leadership aren't willing to let that happen, then I do think, to Kathy's point, if folks are unwilling to listen, there are times in which you need to get creative. Creative in your ask, creative in your demands. And I do think that that's something that we have a really great group of organizers in North Carolina who know how to do that creatively. I'm not a big fan of overly naming and shaming Republicans because I don't think that's going to bring them on board. But I do think that there are creative ways to say, we are not leaving, we're not going to stop fighting, we are going to stand up to any blatant racism or bigotry, and we're not going anywhere until change happens. And there's enough great, beautiful examples in American history and North Carolina history to show that that's worked as well. So I think we need to try hearts and minds and character root, but if that doesn't work, we got to get creative with our organizing. And thankfully, we got folks who can do that. So thanks for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, David, for putting that forth. As Stefania mentioned in the chat, we have one more question, and I think it already came through our Q&A. And the question is, I don't know who answered, you may have statistics on this. How many immigrants in North Carolina will benefit from this bill?
Based on our research, we've seen numbers in the 250 to 300,000 range. I think you're going to find it's going to be right in that range. But Ricky may have some additional thoughts on it.
We've seen the same numbers. Anything from, we know the undocumented community has been pretty stable in terms of numbers over the last 10 plus years, a little over 300,000. That doesn't mean all of them drive. We've seen anything from 100,000 to 200, 250, 300, like David said.
Okay. If anyone else has anything to add, please, this is the time. If not, Kathy, you want?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off of David, and you're correct. It's a moral obligation. Okay, so we're definitely testing the morals of our representatives of what they need to do. Okay, and we need to understand something. If you got these states that's moving forward with allowing this to go on, voting rights for undocumented immigrants too. Okay, so we need to make sure that we continue to not allow this state to stand in a pond that don't move. Okay, because that's what's going on. We're standing in a pond and the water's not moving. So we need to move down this river, okay, because this river has to go. And if we feel as though that you're not moving and you're not doing it for the people, then why can't we defund the salaries of our representatives? Why should you get paid if you're not doing it for the citizens? Why should you sit in there and hold up space when we have so many people that's willing to volunteer their time and do what the right thing is for the citizens? Let's do the right thing. Quit doing the wrong thing in North Carolina, and let's do the right thing for the people so the people will no longer suffer. Because guess what? The people are the ones that make this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. At this moment, we want to thank everyone for attending. Thank you to our panelists for their words of encouragement and hard work for our immigrant community here in North Carolina. Thank you to the attendees. Thank you, everyone. I'm pretty sure that you can get a hold of Representative Hurtado and David Fraccaro and everyone here as well. So thank you, everyone. And Stefania, I'll leave it to you to close that room.
Thank you, everybody. As Maria mentioned, you can reach back out to Veronica, who is in the press release, and she can connect you with those you need to speak to. But other than that, thank you so much. And you all have a great day.